Chosen one, why are you still awake at 2 a.m. when everyone else is sleeping? Why does Sunday morning, the day everyone rushes to church, feel like the loneliest day of your week? Why have you been crying in rooms where no one can hear you, whispering prayers that feel like they're bouncing off the ceiling? Stop. Right where you are. Stop scrolling. Stop pretending you clicked on this by accident. You didn't find this message. This message found you. Like a phone call you almost sent to voicemail. But something made you pick up. Like a knock on your door at midnight that you knew you had to answer. Heaven interrupted your Thursday afternoon, your quiet evening, your restless night to bring you here. Not tomorrow, not next Sunday, when you're sitting in a pew surrounded by voices singing hymns you can barely hear anymore. Today, right now, this moment, because Sunday is coming, beloved. And what I'm about to tell you will shatter everything you thought you knew about why you felt so alone, so forgotten, so invisible in a world that's forgotten how to see. Sunday is not just a day on your calendar, it's an appointment, a divine setup, a sacred collision between your isolation and God's revelation. And you, yes, you must be alone for what's about to happen. I know what you're thinking. Alone? But I'm always alone. My children are busy, my friends stopped calling. Even my church family doesn't notice when I'm not there anymore. That ache in your chest, that's not abandonment, dear one. That's preparation. Lately, you felt overlooked, unseen, unheard, like you're taking up space in a world that's moved on without you. But listen to me carefully. Heaven has not been silent. Heaven has been preparing. Every closed door, every unanswered call, every Sunday morning you sat alone in your living room instead of sitting in that sanctuary. It wasn't rejection. It was positioning. There is something God cannot tell you in a crowd. There is a word He cannot speak while you're surrounded by noise, opinions, well-meaning advice from people who love you but don't understand you. This word must be delivered in the silence of your own home, in the sacred space where it's just you and Him. Before I go deeper, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just giving, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and let the Spirit lead. Stay with me, chosen one. Because once you understand why you must be alone this Sunday, everything in your 70, 80, 90 years of life will suddenly make sense. Today is the day the silence finally speaks. If your spirit is stirring already, if something in you recognizes this moment, type, "I'm listening, Lord," in the comments, so heaven sees your readiness. Why does your phone sit silent on the kitchen table for days? Why do your children, the ones you raised, fed, prayed over every single night? Why do they only call when they need something? Why does Sunday morning, the day everyone else is rushing to fellowship and potlucks and praise teams, why does it feel like the loneliest morning of your entire week? Let me tell you something that's going to crack open everything you thought you understood about your isolation. Your loneliness is not an accident, it's an assignment. You see, there's a pattern woven throughout Scripture that nobody talks about anymore. A pattern so consistent, so undeniable, that once you see it, you'll never look at your empty living room the same way again. Every single person God ever used in a mighty way, every prophet, every deliverer, every voice that shook nations, they all went through the same divine separation. Moses, 40 years in the wilderness, tending sheep while his people suffered in Egypt. 40 years of silence. 40 years of thinking he'd missed his moment, that God had moved on without him. But that wilderness wasn't punishment, beloved. That was preparation. Because the man who fled Egypt as a hothead murderer couldn't have handled what the man who emerged from the burning bush was about to carry. Elijah, after calling down fire from heaven, after defeating 450 prophets of Baal, after the greatest victory of his life, where did God send him? 1 Kings 19 tells us he ended up alone in a cave, so depressed he begged God to let him die. "I have had enough, Lord, take my life." But God didn't rebuke him for his honesty. God fed him, strengthened him. And in that cave, in that isolation, God spoke to him, not in the earthquake, not in the fire, but in a still, small voice. That's the voice you can't hear in a crowd, dear one. Paul, the greatest apostle who ever lived, spent 3 years in the Arabian desert after his Damascus Road encounter. 3 years, not in Jerusalem with the other apostles, not in Rome building churches, alone, in the desert, with nothing but God and his racing thoughts and the weight of a calling he didn't fully understand yet. But when he emerged, he carried revelation that would shape Christianity for 2,000 years. And John, oh John, the beloved disciple, the last one standing, exiled to a lonely island called Patmos when he was 90 years old. 90. Everyone he loved was dead. Everyone who remembered Jesus in the flesh was gone. He was alone on a rock in the middle of the Aegean Sea. But it was there, in that forced isolation, in that divine separation, that heaven opened and he saw the throne room of God. It was there he received the book of Revelation. Do you see it now? Do you see the pattern? God separates before he elevates. He isolates before he illuminates. He pulls you away from the noise because what he's about to say cannot compete with the opinions, the advice, the well-meaning chatter of people who love you but don't carry your calling. Your phone doesn't ring like it used to, does it? People don't check in the way they once did. Your calendar that used to be filled with meetings and dinners and grandchildren's birthday parties, now it's mostly blank. And you've been sitting there thinking, what did I do wrong? Why don't they need me anymore? But heaven still checks your pulse every morning. Heaven still knows your address. Heaven still watches you. Pour that coffee, sit in that chair by the window, stare at that same tree in your backyard, and whisper prayers you think nobody hears. Listen to me carefully. God didn't remove those voices from your life because you're being punished. He removed them because they were drowning out his voice. Every time your phone rang, every time someone needed something, every time you had to be somewhere, do something, show up for someone else, you were available to everyone except the one who created you. But now you're finally quiet enough to hear. This Sunday, not last Sunday, not next month, this Sunday, God needs you undistracted. Because the message coming is too delicate for interference, too sacred for interruption, too powerful to be diluted by anyone else's interpretation. Think about it. When a surgeon operates, does he do it in a crowded room with people shouting advice? When an artist creates a masterpiece, does he do it at a party? When God spoke the universe into existence, was anyone else there to offer their opinion? No. Creation happens in isolation. Transformation requires separation. Revelation demands silence. You've been feeling like your loneliness is evidence that you've been forgotten. But what if it's actually evidence that you've been chosen? What if God trusts you enough to sit in the silence without running? What if your empty house isn't a tomb, it's a sanctuary? Your loneliness is not a punishment, beloved. It's an invitation. An invitation to encounter God in a way you never have before. An invitation to hear what he's been trying to tell you for years but couldn't get through the noise. An invitation to step into a new chapter that requires you to be untethered from everything and everyone who shaped the old one. If this part speaks to you, if something in your chest is confirming what I'm saying, type, "That's me right now." Not for me, but so heaven records your honesty. So the angels lean in and say, "This one is ready." Because what God is about to reveal this Sunday will explain why every relationship had to shift, why every door had to close, why every voice had to fade. And once you hear it, you'll fall to your knees in gratitude that he loved you enough to clear the room. But first, you need to understand what you're actually preparing for. You know what nobody tells you about Sunday? It's not just another day on the calendar between Saturday night and Monday morning. Sunday carries a frequency, a divine vibration that most people walk right past because they're too busy trying to fill the silence with noise. For 70, 80, maybe 90 years, you've been showing up. You've been present. You've done the right things, said the right prayers, sat in the right pews. But lately, something's been different, hasn't it? You wake up Sunday morning, and instead of that old familiar pull toward the sanctuary, you feel something else, something quieter, something that whispers, "Stay home today." And you've been fighting it. You've been feeling guilty about it, thinking maybe your faith is weakening, maybe you're backsliding, maybe God is disappointed in you for wanting to skip church. But what if I told you that feeling isn't rebellion? What if that whisper isn't your faith dying, it's your spirit finally waking up? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. There is a reason why Moses had to go up the mountain alone. There's a reason why Jesus withdrew from the crowds to pray in solitary places. There's a reason why John received the revelation on a lonely island called Patmos. Because there are some things God cannot download into your spirit when you're surrounded by distraction. The prophet Elijah learned this the hard way. 1 Kings chapter 19 tells us he was running from Jezebel, hiding in a cave, feeling completely alone and forgotten, and God showed up. But listen to how God showed up. There was a great wind that tore the mountains, but God wasn't in the wind. Then came an earthquake, but God wasn't in the earthquake. Then came fire, but God wasn't in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper, a still, small voice. And that's where God was. In the whisper, in the stillness, in the quiet that requires absolute silence to hear. You see, beloved, a radio cannot pick up the right station if it's surrounded by static. Your television can't receive a clear signal if there's interference. And your spirit, your eternal, divine spirit that's been trying to tune into heaven's frequency for decades, it cannot hear what God is saying if you're constantly surrounded by noise. This is why you must be alone this Sunday. Not because church is wrong, not because gathering with believers doesn't matter, but because there is a specific word that heaven has been trying to speak over your life, and the only way you'll hear it is in the sacred silence of your own home. The only way the signal comes through clearly is when every other voice goes quiet. For years you've been asking God, what is my purpose now? My children are grown, my career is over, my body isn't what it used to be. Why am I still here? What do you want from me in these final chapters? And God has been trying to answer you, but you haven't been still enough to hear it. Psalm 46:10 doesn't say, "Be busy and know that I am God." It says, "Be still and know that I am God." That word still in Hebrew is rafah. It means to let go, to surrender, to stop striving, to cease the endless activity that we think makes us valuable. Sunday is God's appointed day of rest, not because he needed a break, but because you do. Not rest from physical labor, rest from the spiritual noise that's been drowning out his voice. This coming Sunday is not routine, dear one. It is revelation. Something is about to shift in the invisible realm over your life. The veil between heaven and earth grows thin when you create space for the sacred. And your living room, your bedroom, that quiet corner where you sit with your coffee and watch the morning light come through the window, that space is about to become your burning bush. But here's what you need to understand. This isn't about isolation. This is about insulation. God is insulating you from the opinions, the expectations, the well-meaning voices that have been speaking over your life for decades. He's creating a protected space where his voice becomes the only voice that matters. There is something heaven will whisper to you this Sunday, something about your identity, something about your assignment, something about why you've survived everything you've survived, why you're still breathing when others have gone home, why your story isn't over even though the world has tried to convince you it is. But you will only hear it if you are still enough to receive it. Think about Mary, the mother of Jesus. Luke 2:19 says, "But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart." She didn't rush to tell everyone what the angel said. She didn't broadcast her encounter. She sat in the silence and let heaven's word take root in the soil of her spirit. That's what this Sunday is for you. It's your Mary moment, your pondering season. Your time to let God plant something in you that the world isn't ready to see yet. Pause for 1 second right now. If your spirit just felt that shift, if something inside you recognized the truth of what I'm saying, like this video, that's not just social media engagement. That's spiritual alignment. That's your soul saying yes to what heaven is orchestrating. But here's the urgency you need to understand. This window won't stay open forever. Divine appointments have divine timing. And if you miss this Sunday, if you fill it with distraction and busyness and the same old routines, you might miss the very word that would have changed everything. So, what exactly will God reveal when you finally get still enough to hear Him? Let me tell you something that might shake you to your core, chosen one. Right now, this very moment, there is a war being waged over your life that you can't see with your natural eyes. While you've been wondering why everything feels harder lately, why Sunday mornings drain you instead of fill you, why even good people seem to pull at your peace, heaven and hell have been fighting over what happens next in your story. Every single time God prepares to speak something life-changing over you, hell mobilizes to distract you. Every time breakthrough is within reach, chaos suddenly erupts. Every time your spirit starts to soar, something or someone clips your wings. You thought it was coincidence, didn't you? You thought it was just bad timing when your phone rings right as you settle into prayer. You thought it was normal when certain people always seem to show up with drama right before God is about to shift something in your life. You thought those Sunday morning headaches, that sudden exhaustion, that inexplicable heaviness was just age catching up with you. But what if I told you that's spiritual warfare disguised as ordinary life? Listen to me carefully, beloved. Ephesians 6:12 doesn't mince words. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. Not flesh and blood. Not your neighbor who talks too much. Not your church member who judges you. Not even your own family who doesn't understand you. The real enemy operates in shadows, and his favorite weapon isn't attack, it's distraction. This is why God is telling you to stay home this Sunday. Not because He doesn't want you in church, not because worship doesn't matter, but because there are some words He can only speak when you're finally, completely, utterly alone with Him. No voices drowning Him out. No opinions reshaping His message. No well-meaning saints accidentally stealing the seed before it takes root in your spirit. You need to avoid 4 deadly threats this Sunday, and I need you to hear me on this because your breakthrough depends on it. First, emotional drains. You know exactly who I'm talking about. That person who always needs something. That phone call that always leaves you exhausted. That conversation that somehow always circles back to their problems, their pain, their never-ending crisis. You've poured love into hands that couldn't hold it. You've given wisdom to ears that wouldn't hear it. And every single time, you walked away emptier than when you started. Second, spiritual contamination. Not everyone who prays with you is praying for you. Not everyone who says God bless you carries blessing. Not everyone in the sanctuary is in the Spirit. There are people whose doubt is contagious, whose fear is infectious, whose unbelief will attach itself to your faith like a parasite. 1 Corinthians 15:33 warns us, bad company corrupts good character. Even in church, chosen one, even among believers. Third, old patterns. That seat you always sit in, that routine you always follow, that small talk you always make with people who don't really know you. Those patterns have become prisons. They keep you comfortable, predictable, manageable. But God is about to do something new, and new wine doesn't fit in old wineskins. If you show up Sunday doing what you've always done, you'll hear what you've always heard. But if you stay home, if you break the pattern, if you create space for the unexpected, heaven can finally interrupt the cycle. Fourth, subtle discouragement. This one's the deadliest because it wears a smile. It sounds like concern. Are you okay? You seem different lately. Maybe you should slow down. Don't get your hopes up too high. Remember what happened last time you believed God for something big. These words spoken in love are laced with poison. They're designed to make you doubt what God has been whispering to your spirit in the secret place. You've trusted people who broke you. You've opened your heart to voices that didn't deserve access. You've shared your God dreams with dream killers who smiled while they murdered your hope with their skepticism. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. You are like a candle in the wind right now, beloved. Your flame is still burning, barely, but burning. God sees it. Hell sees it too. And both sides know that if that flame gets the right shelter, the right protection, the right environment, it won't just survive. It will become a wildfire. Home is not where you hide. Home is where heaven meets you. Think about Elijah. After the greatest victory of his ministry, calling down fire from heaven, defeating 450 false prophets, where did God send him? Not to another mountain, not to another crowd, to a cave, alone. And it was there, in that isolated place, that God didn't speak in the earthquake or the fire. He spoke in a still, small voice. That still, small voice is trying to reach you right now, but you can't hear it in the noise. You can't receive it in the chaos. You can't carry it while you're carrying everyone else's burdens. This Sunday, your living room becomes your sanctuary. Your couch becomes your altar. Your solitude becomes your strength. But the question burning in heaven right now is this: will you trust God enough to stay where He's placing you? Or will you run back to what's familiar because being alone feels too uncomfortable? If this is resonating in your spirit, if you recognize the war you've been in, comment, "I choose God's protection right now." Because what I'm about to tell you next will reveal exactly what God wants to speak to you in that silence, and why the enemy has fought so hard to keep you from hearing it. Do you remember? Do you remember those mornings when you were young, maybe 25, maybe 30, sitting by the kitchen window with your coffee, watching the sun climb over the fire escapes of Brooklyn, feeling something you couldn't name? No radio, no television, just you and the quiet and that strange, beautiful knowing that someone was there with you. When did you lose that, beloved? When did Sunday morning stop being about sitting still and start being about showing up? When did your faith become a performance instead of a conversation? When did you trade the whisper of God for the noise of obligation? I need you to hear something that might shake you to your core. For 70, 80, maybe 90 years, you've been running. Oh, I know what you're thinking. Running? I can barely walk anymore. But I'm not talking about your legs, dear one. I'm talking about your soul. You've been running from appointment to appointment, crisis to crisis, fixing your children's problems, managing your grandchildren's chaos, showing up for everyone who needed you while slowly, quietly, disappearing from yourself. And God has been watching, waiting, calling your name in rooms you were too busy to enter. Here's the truth nobody has told you, the secret the church forgot to preach. God cannot speak to His chosen ones clearly until they stop, until they cease striving, until they finally sit down in the sacred silence and say, "Okay, Lord, I'm here, just me, just you. What do you want to say?" Psalm 46:10 doesn't whisper, it commands, "Be still and know that I am God." Not be busy and know, not be useful and know, not be needed and know, be still. The Hebrew word there is rapha. It means to let go, to release, to stop fighting. It means surrender so complete that you can finally hear what's been trying to reach you for decades. But you can't hear it in a church pew surrounded by 200 voices singing the same hymns you've sung since 1962. You can't hear it at the family dinner table with grandchildren screaming and daughters-in-law asking for advice you're too tired to give. You can't hear it with the television on, with your phone buzzing, with the world demanding one more piece of you. This Sunday, this coming Sunday, God is asking you to do something that might feel impossible. He's asking you to stay home, to be alone, to let the church service happen without you, to let the family brunch go on, to let everyone wonder where you are while you finally keep your appointment with the one who's been trying to reach you since before you were born. And I know what fear is rising in your chest right now. Dear one, Listen to me carefully. This Sunday is not about what God wants from you. This Sunday is about what God wants to restore to you. Your soul is like a letter heaven wrote long ago. It was sealed, addressed, stamped with divine purpose before you drew your first breath in that Brooklyn hospital in 1945, in that Bronx apartment in 1938, in that Queens row house in 1952. But somewhere along the way, you got so busy delivering everyone else's mail that you never opened your own. You've spent your entire life reading other people's letters, their needs, their dreams, their emergencies, while your own letter from God sat unopened in your hands. This Sunday, God wants you to finally read it. Think about what happened at Horeb when God called Moses. Exodus 3-5 tells us God said, "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." Not the place where everyone else was standing, not the public square, not the marketplace. The place where Moses was standing, alone, in the desert, with nothing between him and the burning bush except silence and surrender. Your living room this Sunday is your Horeb. Your bedroom is your holy ground. The quiet apartment where you sit alone, that's not loneliness, beloved. That's sacred geography. That's where the burning bush waits. Heaven is finally ready to answer the question you've carried for decades. That question you've never spoken out loud. That ache you've never named. That wondering, God, did my life matter? Did you see me? Did all those years of sacrifice mean something? Was I chosen for anything more than just surviving? This Sunday, in the silence, you'll hear the answer. But only if you're alone. Only if you stop. Only if you finally let go of everyone else's needs long enough to receive what heaven has been holding for you. Whisper it now in the comments, not for me, but for heaven to see your readiness. Speak, Lord, I'm ready. Because what God is about to reveal this Sunday will not just give you answers, it will give you back yourself. But the question burning in the spirit right now is this: why Sunday? Why does it have to be the Lord's Day? Why can't this happen on any ordinary Tuesday? You know what terrifies you most, don't you? It's not death itself, it's the thought of dying with your song still trapped inside you. It's lying in that hospital bed one day, looking at the ceiling tiles and whispering to yourself, "Did I matter? Did anything I did leave a mark?" I see you there. 73 years old, sitting in your Brooklyn apartment, staring at family photos on the wall. Your grandchildren barely call anymore. Your children are too busy climbing ladders you don't even understand. And somewhere deep in your chest, there's a question that won't stop asking itself. Did God forget that I'm still here? Let me tell you something that's going to shake you to your core. That fear you carry, that haunting whisper that says your best years are rotting in the rearview mirror, that's not God's voice. That's the enemy's last desperate attempt to convince you that your assignment expired with your youth. But here's what hell doesn't want you to know. You're not fading, beloved. You're finally being positioned. Think about it. Why are you still breathing? Why did you survive that heart attack at 67 when the doctors said you had a 15% chance? Why are you still here when friends you buried were younger, healthier, seemingly more valuable to the world? Random chance? Luck? Medical miracle? No. Divine appointment. God doesn't keep people alive by accident. He doesn't waste breath on bodies he's done using. And if you're still pulling air into your lungs right now, if your heart is still beating against your ribs as you hear these words, it's because heaven refuses to let you go until you've completed what you were sent here to accomplish. Joel 2:25 says it plainly. I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. Not might restore, not could restore, will restore. Present tense, active voice, divine guarantee. Every year that feels stolen, the decade you spent caring for your dying spouse while your own dreams suffocated, the years you gave to ungrateful children who now treat you like an inconvenience, the time you lost to depression, so dark you couldn't see morning through the night, God has been keeping record. And this Sunday marks the beginning of your restoration era. You think I'm speaking poetically? You think this is just pretty church talk to make you feel better for 20 minutes before reality crashes back in. Listen to me. God is about to give you back what the locusts devoured, not in theory, in tangible, undeniable, earth-shaking reality. Ideas are going to return. You know those flashes of brilliance you used to have, the solutions that would come to you in the shower, the wisdom that made people lean in when you spoke? You thought that was gone. You thought your mind was slipping into fog. But it wasn't dying. It was dormant. And it's about to wake up with a roar that will make your children stop and say, "Where did that come from?" Strength is going to return. Not the strength to run marathons or lift furniture. The strength that matters. The strength to set boundaries with people who drain you. The strength to say no to obligations that aren't your assignment. The strength to stand in your truth even when your own family thinks you've lost your mind. Peace is going to return. That anxiety that wakes you at 3 a.m., calculating whether your savings will last, whether you'll become a burden, whether you'll die alone in some facility where nobody remembers your name, it's about to be replaced with a supernatural, knowing that your steps are ordered, your days are numbered by the Almighty, and not one single breath is wasted. But here's where it gets personal. Here's where this prophecy stops being general encouragement and becomes your specific word. What you lost is not gone. It's waiting. That dream you buried under 30 years of responsibility, it's not dead. It's planted. That calling you thought you missed because you were too busy surviving to pursue it, you didn't miss it. You were being prepared for it. That fire in your chest that used to burn so bright until life threw water on it, that flame never went out. It's been protected under ash, and God is about to blow on those embers until you burn so bright that people 3 states away will see your light. Ecclesiastes 3:11 tells us God has made everything beautiful in its time. Not in your time, not in the world's time, in His time, and His time for you is now. This is why you must be alone this Sunday, because what God is about to download into your spirit cannot happen in a crowd. The restoration He's orchestrating requires silence. The rewiring He's doing to your identity demands solitude. The divine reset button He's about to press on, your life needs you isolated from every voice except His. Your next chapter will not look like your last one. Stop measuring your future by your past. Stop believing that because the last 30 years looked one way, the next 10 must follow the same pattern. God is rewriting your ending, beloved, and the pen He's using is dipped in resurrection power. But here's the urgency that should grip your soul right now. This window won't stay open forever. Divine appointments have divine timing. When God says Sunday, He means Sunday. When He says stay home, He means stay home. When He says alone, He means alone. If this prophecy is landing in your spirit like lightning, if you feel something ancient stirring in your bones, type "I receive this" in the comments right now. Don't analyze it. Don't question it. Just receive it. Because the question burning in heaven's throne room at this very moment is this: will you trust the God who kept you alive for 70, 80, 90 years, enough to give Him one Sunday in complete surrender? Listen to me very carefully, chosen one. What I'm about to tell you carries the weight of eternity, and I need you to feel every word settling into the deepest chamber of your heart. This is not about danger, this is about destiny. For 70, 80, maybe 90 years, you've been walking through this world, wondering when your moment would come, when God would finally use you the way you've always sensed He wanted to, when the calling you've carried like a secret fire in your chest would finally ignite into something the world could see. That moment is Sunday. But only if you're alone. You see, there's a spiritual law most preachers won't tell you because it sounds too simple, too strange, too contrary to everything the church has taught about community and fellowship. But it's written across every page of Scripture for those who have eyes to see it. When heaven opens a window, silence becomes instruction. Think about Moses at the burning bush. He was alone, completely alone on the backside of the desert, tending sheep when God called his name. Exodus 3-4 says, When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, "Moses, Moses!" If Moses had been surrounded by other shepherds, if he'd been distracted by conversation, by the noise of camp life, by the well-meaning presence of others, he would have missed the voice that changed the course of human history. Think about Elijah in that cave. 1 Kings 19:12 tells us there was a great wind, then an earthquake, then fire, but God wasn't in any of those. And after the fire came a gentle whisper, a whisper, beloved, not a shout, not thunder, a whisper that could only be heard in absolute solitude. Think about Jesus himself. Mark 1:35 says, "Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed." The Son of God, surrounded by disciples, by crowds, by people desperate for his attention, still chose to be alone when he needed to hear the Father's voice most clearly. Now let me ask you something that's going to cut straight to the bone. How many Sunday mornings have you sat in church surrounded by singing, by preaching, by the rustle of programs and the chatter of fellowship hour, and felt absolutely nothing? How many times have you driven home from service feeling more empty than when you arrived? How many times have you smiled and nodded and said, "Amen," while your soul screamed, "God, where are you?" That wasn't your fault. That wasn't a lack of faith. That was spiritual interference. You cannot hear a whisper in a stadium. You cannot receive a secret in a crowd. And what God wants to tell you this Sunday is not for anyone else's ears. But here's what breaks my heart, and here's why I'm speaking with such urgency tonight. If you are not alone this Sunday, if you let guilt convince you to go to church, if you let obligation pull you to that family dinner, if you let loneliness drive you to pick up the phone and fill the silence, three things will happen, and I need you to understand them before it's too late. First, you will miss the whisper. Not because God stopped speaking, but because you won't be positioned to hear. Like trying to catch rain in a cup that's turned upside down. The blessing is falling, but you're not in the posture to receive it. Second, you will fall back into old emotional patterns. The hurt from that church member who ignored you last month will resurface. The resentment toward your children who only call when they need something will bubble up again. The comparison game, looking at other families, other seniors who seem to have it all together, will poison your peace. And by the time you get home, you'll be so emotionally drained that you won't have anything left for God. Third, and this is the most heartbreaking, you will get spiritually drained right before your breakthrough. Have you ever noticed that? Right before something magnificent is about to happen in your life, everything and everyone seems to demand a piece of you. That's not coincidence, dear one. That's strategy. The enemy knows what's coming, and he's trying to deplete you before you can receive it. Ecclesiastes 3-7 says, "There is a time to be silent and a time to speak." This Sunday is your time to be silent. Not because speaking is wrong, but because listening is essential. This moment will not return in the same form. I need you to hear me. God doesn't send the same invitation twice in the same way. When he called Samuel in the night, it was a specific moment. When he appeared to Paul on the Damascus road, it was an appointed time. When he spoke to Mary through the angel, it was a divine intersection that would never happen exactly that way again. Sunday, December 15th, 2025 is your burning bush, your cave whisper, your Damascus road. And if you miss it, not because God stops loving you, not because you're disqualified, but simply because you weren't positioned to receive it, you will spend the next year wondering why that stirring in your spirit never became the breakthrough you were promised. Heaven is not playing games with your time. The Almighty doesn't orchestrate moments of divine appointment just to watch you miss them. But he will not force you. He will not drag you into destiny. He will call your name, and you must be still enough, quiet enough, alone enough to hear it. Sunday is the day heaven calls your name. The question that will determine everything about your next chapter is simply this: will you be home to answer? If you're still here, if your spirit is bearing witness to every word I'm speaking, say "I won't miss it" in the comments right now. Let heaven see your commitment. Let the angels take note. Let the enemy know that his schemes to distract you have failed. And then do something that might feel uncomfortable but is absolutely essential. Share this message with one person who needs to hear it. That friend who's been struggling. That family member who feels forgotten. That neighbor who sits alone every Sunday, wondering if anyone remembers they exist. Because this word isn't just for you, chosen one. It's for everyone who's been waiting for permission to be still, to be quiet, to be alone with the God who has never stopped calling their name. Listen to me very carefully, chosen one. What I'm about to tell you might hurt at first, but it will heal you forever. Not everyone who loves you should be near you during revelation. I know that sounds harsh. I know it cuts against everything you've been taught about family, about friendship, about being a good Christian who keeps their door open and their heart available. But hear me when I say this, there are moments so sacred, so surgically precise, that God himself must control who enters the room. Think about it. When the doctors wheeled you into surgery 5 years ago, did they let your daughter come in? Did they allow your grandchildren to stand beside the operating table while the surgeon cut into your chest? Of course not. Not because they didn't love you, not because they weren't praying for you, but because healing requires sterile space. Because life-saving intervention demands a controlled environment where only the skilled hands of the surgeon can work. Beloved, God is about to perform heart surgery on you this Sunday, and he cannot do it with visitors in the room. You've spent 70, 80, 90 years of your life being available to everyone except yourself. Every time the phone rang, you answered. Every time someone needed something, you showed up. Every time your children called, you dropped everything. You became the family's 911, the church's reliable volunteer, the neighbor who never said no. And somewhere along the way, you forgot how to hear your own heartbeat. You forgot what it sounds like when God whispers your name in a quiet room with no one else listening. Exodus 33:11 tells us that the Lord would speak to Moses face to face as one speaks to a friend. But notice where this happened, not in the camp where 2 million Israelites were shouting and complaining, not in the marketplace where vendors were selling and children were playing. Moses had to leave the noise. He had to step away from the people who needed him, loved him, depended on him. He had to meet God alone. This Sunday, you are Moses, and your living room is the tent of meeting. But here's what breaks my heart. I can already hear some of you making excuses. But my daughter always comes over on Sunday. But I promised my grandkids I'd make them breakfast. But what will people think if I don't answer the door? Dear one, let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. When did other people's expectations become more important than God's instructions? When did you start valoring guilt over obedience? When did you begin believing that saying yes to everyone else meant saying yes to God? 1 Kings 19 shows us Elijah at his breaking point. After calling down fire from heaven, after defeating 450 prophets of Baal, after seeing miracle after miracle, this mighty man of God collapsed under a tree and begged to die. Why? Because he never stopped. Because he never rested. Because he kept performing for people until his soul was bankrupt. But watch what God did. He didn't send Elijah to a conference. He didn't surround him with encouragers. He put him in a cave, alone. And there, in that isolated space, God whispered the question that would change everything. What are you doing here, Elijah? God is asking you the same question this Sunday. What are you doing here in this season of your life? Still performing, still proving, still pretending you don't need what only solitude can give you. Let me tell you something that might shock you. The people who will be most offended by your closed door this Sunday are often the same people who have benefited most from your open one. They've grown accustomed to your availability. They've taken for granted that you'll always be there, always accessible, always ready to drop everything for them. But a surgeon does not allow visitors in the operating room. A jeweler does not refine gold in a crowded workshop. A potter does not shape clay with 1,000 hands reaching in to help. And God cannot perform the kind of deep, transformative, soul-renovating work He's planned for you this Sunday if you allow interruptions. Matthew 6:6 gives us Jesus' own words. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Close the door, not leave it cracked, not keep it unlocked in case someone needs you. Close it, shut it, guard it. This Sunday, if someone knocks on your door, let God answer, not you. If your phone rings, let heaven handle it. If guilt tries to crawl up your spine and whisper that you're being selfish, remind that lying spirit who you belong to. You are not being selfish. You are being obedient. You are not abandoning people. You are answering God. You are not closing people out. You are letting God in. Because here's the truth that will set you free when God finishes His work in you this Sunday, when He completes what He started in that sacred silence, when He speaks the word that only solitude can birth. You will have more to give everyone else than you've had in decades. But first, the door must close. The noise must stop. The visitors must wait. This Sunday, peace is your protection, silence is your shield, and your closed door is not rejection of others, it's reception of God. But what exactly is God going to do in that silence? What is He preparing to reveal that requires such radical isolation? Listen to me carefully, dear one. There is a moment from your past you still carry, a moment you never told anyone, not your children, not your closest friend, not even your spouse when they were still here beside you. It sits in your chest like a stone you've learned to breathe around. Maybe it was something that happened when you were 17. Maybe it was something you said or didn't say to someone you loved before they passed. Maybe it was a choice you made in 1962 that you've questioned every single day since. Maybe it was something done to you that left a scar so deep you built your entire life around protecting it. You know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you? That memory doesn't just visit you at night anymore. It's there when you're folding laundry, when you're watching the news, when you're sitting in church surrounded by people singing hallelujah while you're silently asking God why He never healed that one wound. You've carried it for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, and you've done such a good job hiding it that even you almost believe you've moved on. But you haven't moved on, beloved. You've just gotten better at walking with the weight. Here's what nobody told you about memories like that. They don't fade because you ignore them. They don't disappear because you pray harder. They don't heal because you keep busy enough to forget them for a few hours. Unresolved memories are like infections beneath the skin. They may not show on the surface, but they poison everything they touch. Your relationships, your peace, your ability to believe God when He says you're forgiven. The Bible tells us in Psalm 147:3 that God heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. But notice something. He doesn't just slap a bandage over the wound, He binds it. That word in Hebrew is chabash. It means to wrap carefully, to dress with intention, to touch what hurts with the precision of a surgeon who knows exactly where the infection lives. And this Sunday, chosen one, God is coming for that memory, not to shame you, not to make you relive the pain, but to finally set you free from it. You see, there's a reason God often works through what I call memory resurrection. It's because we don't just remember events, we relive them. Every time that moment flashes through your mind, your body responds. Your heart rate changes, your hands shake, your throat tightens. It's not just a thought anymore. It's a prison you've been locked in for decades, rattling the same chains every time you pass by that cell. But on Sunday, when you're alone, when there's no one to perform for, no one to be strong for, no one watching you fall apart, God is going to walk into that prison cell and touch that memory with His nail-scarred hands. It will feel like someone lifting a heavy coat off your shoulders, a coat you forgot you were wearing, one you put on so long ago that you thought it was just part of who you are now. But it's not you, dear one. It never was. It was just weight. And weight can be removed. Some of you right now are thinking, but I've prayed about this. I've begged God to take this away. I know you have. But here's what you need to understand. God doesn't heal on our timeline. He heals on His. And sometimes He waits until we're finally alone enough, quiet enough, desperate enough to let Him into the room we've kept locked. Jesus knew this. That's why in John 5, when He came to the pool of Bethesda, He didn't heal everyone. He walked past 38 years of suffering humanity and stopped at one man. One man who had been lying there for 38 years. And Jesus asked him the most shocking question, "Do you want to get well?" Why would He ask that? Because sometimes we get so used to our wounds that healing feels more terrifying than staying broken. Sometimes we've told the story of our pain so many times that we don't know who we'd be without it. But God is asking you that same question this Sunday. Do you want to get well? Do you want to finally be free? Because if you do, you have to let Him touch what hurts. After that, memory is touched after God shows you the truth about what really happened, why it happened, and how He was there even when you thought you were alone. He's going to do something that will shatter you and rebuild you in the same breath. He's going to show you what that memory was preparing you for. Every tear you cried taught you compassion for others who cry in secret. Every betrayal you survived taught you how to recognize wolves in sheep's clothing before they devour the vulnerable. Every regret you carried taught you how to counsel the guilty with grace instead of judgment. Your pain wasn't pointless, beloved. It was prophetic. 2 Corinthians 1-4 says, God comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. That memory you've been hiding, it's about to become your ministry. That wound you've been ashamed of, it's about to become your weapon. That story you thought would destroy you if anyone knew, it's about to be the testimony that saves someone else's life. But only if you let God touch it this Sunday. So here's my question for you, and I need you to answer honestly, even if it's just in the quiet of your own heart. What memory are you afraid to let God heal? What are you still protecting Him from seeing, even though He's already seen it all? Because whatever that is, that's exactly what Sunday is for. You know what breaks my heart? It's sitting across from a 78-year-old grandmother in a cramped Brooklyn apartment, watching her stare out the window at a world she thinks has forgotten her name. She whispers to me, "Pastor, I think I missed it. I think my time came and went, and I was too busy raising kids, working 2 jobs, surviving. And now God's moved on to someone younger, someone stronger, someone who still has time." And every single time I hear those words, something in my spirit wants to shout, "That's the biggest lie hell ever told." Listen to me, chosen one. That assignment you thought you lost, that calling you buried under decades of responsibility, disappointment, and the cruel arithmetic of passing years, it didn't expire. It was preserved. Let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. How many times have you looked in the mirror and seen nothing but wasted potential? How many nights have you laid in that bed thinking about the dreams you had at 25, 30, 40? Dreams that life crushed under the weight of bills, betrayals, and just trying to make it through another day. How many times have you whispered, "God, I'm sorry I didn't do more with what you gave me." Stop apologizing for surviving. You think God called you to a purpose at 20 and then just forgot about you at 70? You think the Creator of the universe has an expiration date stamped on His chosen ones like a carton of milk at the corner deli? Let me show you something that's going to shatter that lie into a million pieces. Moses, 80 years old. 80. He'd spent 40 years thinking he was somebody in Pharaoh's palace, then 40 years thinking he was nobody in the wilderness, tending sheep that didn't even belong to him. If Moses lived in modern-day Queens, he'd be collecting Social Security, maybe playing dominoes in the park, waiting for his grandkids to call. But then God showed up at a burning bush and said, "Now you're ready. Now you understand suffering. Now you've been broken enough to carry my glory without it destroying you. Now we begin." Exodus 7:7 tells us plainly, Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron 83 when they spoke to Pharaoh. God's greatest deliverance in human history was led by 2 men who should have been in retirement homes by the world's standards. And Abraham? Genesis 12 records that he was 75 years old when God called him to leave everything, and go to a place he'd never seen, to become something he'd never been. 75, starting over with nothing but a promise from a voice he'd only just begun to hear clearly. But here's what wrecks me, beloved. Here's what should shake you to your very core. Sarah was 90 when she gave birth to Isaac, 90 years old. Her womb was dead. Science said impossible, logic said ridiculous. But God said, "Watch what I do with what the world calls finished." You think your productive years are behind you. You think your influence is over. You think because your body moves slower, your purpose must be smaller. Your calling is not a fire that burns out, dear one. It's a fire that waits for oxygen. For decades, you've been living in an oxygen-deprived environment, surrounded by people who couldn't see what God planted in you, working jobs that paid your bills but starved your spirit, attending churches that wanted your service but not your voice, raising children who needed your strength but couldn't comprehend your depth. You weren't burning out. You were being preserved for the moment when the oxygen returns. And this Sunday is the breath. Think about Caleb, 85 years old, standing before Joshua, and listen to what he declares in Joshua 14:11. "I am still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. I'm just as vigorous to go out to battle now as I was then." 85 years old, and he's not asking for a rocking chair. He's demanding a mountain. "Give me this hill country," he roars. "Give me the giants. Give me the impossible. Give me what younger men are afraid to touch." That's not nostalgia talking, that's assignment reactivating. But here's the urgency you need to feel in your bones right now. The enemy has spent your entire life trying to convince you that your season ended 20, 30, 40 years ago. Why? Because he knows something about you that you've forgotten about yourself. He knows that a believer with 70 years of proven faithfulness is the most dangerous weapon in God's arsenal. He knows that someone who's watched God provide through the depression, through wars, through losses that would have destroyed weaker souls. Someone like that doesn't just have faith. They have evidence, documented proof, a lifetime of receipts showing that God keeps his promises even when everything looks impossible. The world worships youth, but heaven crowns endurance. And right now, in this exact moment of American history, when families are fracturing, when truth is being questioned, when young people are drowning in confusion and despair, they don't need another motivational speaker with a podcast and perfect teeth. They need voices that have been tested. They need wisdom that's been earned. They need to see living proof that you can walk through hell and come out still praising God. That's you, chosen one. That's why you're still here. That's why your assignment didn't die when you turned 70. It was just waiting for the world to get desperate enough to finally listen. But here's the question that's going to determine everything about what happens next in your life. Will you believe God still has plans for you? Or will you let the world convince you that your story's already written? Because this Sunday, in the silence of your home, God is about to tell you something he's been waiting decades to reveal. You know what breaks my heart? It's watching God's most faithful servants sit in their living rooms on Sunday morning, staring at four walls, believing they've been forgotten, believing their season is over, believing that at 75, 82, 90 years old, the best chapters are behind them. But what if I told you that this Sunday, this coming Sunday, when you stay home alone, God is about to pull back a curtain you didn't even know was there? What if everything you thought was ending is actually just beginning? Listen to me carefully, beloved. Like curtains being pulled back on a theater stage, suddenly the next chapter becomes visible, and what you're about to see will leave you breathless. The season you are entering. You've been living in what feels like winter for so long, haven't you? Cold, barren, silent. Every morning you wake up wondering if today will be different, or if it's just another day of the same emptiness. Your children don't call as often. Your friends from church have their own lives now. Even your body reminds you daily that you're not what you used to be. But Ecclesiastes 3:1 declares, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." Do you hear that? A time to every purpose. Not some purposes, every single one. This Sunday, when you're alone in that sacred space, God is going to whisper something that will shatter your resignation. You are not entering the winter of your life. You are entering the harvest. Think about it. When does a farmer harvest? After months of hidden growth, after seasons of waiting, after roots have gone deep and fruit has ripened. Your isolation wasn't abandonment, it was germination. Every tear you've cried in secret watered seeds you couldn't see. Every prayer you whispered in the dark fertilized ground you thought was dead. But here's what's going to shock you. The harvest God is about to bring through your life has nothing to do with what you can physically do anymore. You think your impact is over because you can't move like you used to. You think your influence is gone because you're not in rooms full of people anymore. Moses was 80 when he stood before Pharaoh. Abraham was 99 when God renewed his covenant. Anna was 84 when she prophesied over the infant Jesus in the temple. Your age isn't your limitation, it's your authorization. You've survived what would have destroyed others. You've endured what would have broken weaker souls. And now God is saying, finally, you're ready for what I've been saving you for, who you must release. But there's a problem, and it's not the one you think. You can't carry harvest while you're still holding on to dead weight. You can't receive new wine while you're clutching old wineskins. And this Sunday, God is going to show you exactly who and what you need to release. I'm not just talking about toxic people, though some of you do need to stop begging for phone calls from children who've made it clear you're an inconvenience. I'm talking about something deeper, something that's been choking your destiny for decades. You need to release the person you used to be. That younger version of yourself who could do everything, be everywhere, fix everyone's problems. She's gone, beloved, and you've been mourning her like a death. You've been comparing your current self to your former self and coming up short every single time. You've been apologizing for not being who you were at 40, at 50, at 60. But 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, "Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. Old things are passed away." Not upgraded, not improved. Passed away, dead, gone. God is going to ask you to stop resurrecting what He's already buried. That person you were, she served her purpose. She did what she was called to do. This Sunday, in the silence of your own home, you're going to have to make peace with the fact that you're not who you were. And thank God for that. Because who you were couldn't handle what's coming. Who you were didn't have the wisdom, the discernment, the spiritual authority that only comes from walking through fire and refusing to burn. Who you were hadn't been refined enough yet. The new identity you must accept. Now, here's where it gets supernatural. Here's where heaven crashes into your living room and rewrites your story. This Sunday, when you're alone with God, He's going to show you something that will terrify and exhilarate you at the same time. You will see yourself not as who you've been, but who you were always meant to be. Not a grandmother whose grandchildren are too busy. A spiritual matriarch whose prayers shift atmospheres. Not a retiree who's been put out to pasture. A general who's been training in the wilderness, preparing for the final battle. Not someone who's fading away. Someone who's finally coming into focus. Revelation 2:17 promises, "To him that overcometh will I give a white stone, and in the stone a new name written, which no man knoweth saving he that receiveth it." A new name, a new identity, known only to you and God. This isn't about reinventing yourself, beloved. This is about remembering yourself. You are about to discover that everything you thought disqualified you, your age, your limitations, your losses, those were never disqualifications. They were preparations for an assignment so specific, so powerful, so anointed, that only someone who's been where you've been could carry it. But you have to be alone to receive it. You have to be still to hear it. You have to be ready to let God shatter every limitation you've accepted about who you are and what you can still do. Are you ready for that kind of revelation? Because what God shows you this Sunday will demand something from you that comfortable religion never could. Let me ask you something that might cut straight through to your soul. How many nights have you lain awake replaying conversations that ended badly 30 years ago? How many mornings have you woken up and felt the empty side of the bed where your spouse used to sleep? How many times have you looked at old photographs and wondered where all those years went and why they hurt so much to remember? You've spent decades carrying regret like stones in your pockets. That son who hasn't called in 5 years. That daughter who moved across the country and forgot your birthday. That friendship that died over something so small you can't even remember what started it. That dream you buried when you turned 60 because everyone told you it was too late, too foolish, too impossible for someone your age. And now, here you are, 70-something years on this earth, and you're thinking, is this it? Is this all I get? A quiet apartment in Queens, a social security check that barely covers the bills, and memories that hurt more than they comfort. But listen to me, beloved. What if I told you that every single thing you think you've lost, every relationship, every opportunity, every year you believe was wasted? What if none of it was actually gone? What if it was all being held in reserve, stored up in heaven's vault, waiting for this exact moment when God says, now is when I give it all back, and more. You see, the prophet Joel understood something that most preachers won't tell you. In Joel 2:25, God makes a promise that should shake you to your core. I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten, not some of the years, not a few good memories to comfort you in your old age, all the years, every single one that felt stolen, wasted, devoured by circumstances you couldn't control. But here's what breaks my heart. You've been sitting in your living room in the Bronx, in Brooklyn, in Manhattan, believing that restoration means God is going to rewind the clock and give you back your youth. You think restoration means erasing the arthritis, the gray hair, the wrinkles, the slower pace. No, dear one, no. Restoration is not returning you to who you were. Restoration is lifting you to who you were always supposed to become. Think about Job for a moment. This man lost everything. His children dead, his wealth gone, his health destroyed. His wife told him to curse God and die. His friends accused him of secret sins. He sat in ashes, scraping his sores with broken pottery, wondering if God had forgotten his name. But Job 42:10 tells us something that should make your spirit leap. And the Lord turned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends. Also, the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. Twice as much. Not just what he lost, double. God didn't just restore Job's life, he upgraded it. Your marriage ended in divorce 40 years ago, and you've been carrying that shame ever since. But what if God is about to give you a relationship with him so intimate, so profound, that it makes every earthly love you've known look like a shadow? What if your loneliness has been preparing you to become a prayer warrior whose intercession moves heaven itself? Your children don't call anymore, and it breaks your heart every single day. But what if God is positioning you to become a spiritual mother, a spiritual father to an entire generation of young people who are drowning in a world without wisdom? What if your empty nest is about to become a sanctuary where broken souls find healing? You lost your health, your mobility, your independence. You can't walk the 3 blocks to the corner store without getting winded. But what if God is about to demonstrate through your weakened body that his strength is made perfect in weakness? What if your wheelchair becomes a throne from which you speak life into the spiritually paralyzed? Not lost, delayed. Not denied, protected. Say that with me. Not lost, delayed. Not denied, protected. Every door that slammed in your face wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Every opportunity that slipped through your fingers wasn't failure. It was God's hand pulling you back from something that would have destroyed you. Every year you thought was wasted was actually a year of preparation for what he's about to release through you now. But here's the urgency that should grip your heart right now. Sunday is coming. And on that Sunday, when you're alone in your home, no distractions, no visitors, no phone calls, God is going to speak a word over your life that will activate every single promise that's been dormant for decades. Every seed you planted in tears is about to burst through the soil. Every prayer you whispered in desperation is about to be answered in ways that will leave you speechless. Your restoration will be greater than your suffering, not equal to it, greater than it. The Bible promises in Isaiah 61:7, "For your shame ye shall have double, and for confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore in their land they shall possess the double. Everlasting joy shall be unto them." Double for your trouble, glory for your shame, joy for your confusion. But you have to understand something crucial. This restoration doesn't happen automatically. It doesn't fall on you like rain while you're sitting there drowning in self-pity and regret. This restoration requires your participation. It requires you to be in position. It requires you to be alone with God on Sunday so He can speak the word that shifts everything. Because what God is about to restore in your life isn't just for you. It's for every person whose story mirrors yours. It's for every senior citizen who thinks their best days are behind them. It's for every grandmother sitting in a nursing home believing she's been forgotten. It's for every grandfather wondering if his life mattered at all. You are about to become living proof that God keeps His promises. But will you be there to receive it? Beloved chosen one, as we come to the end of this sacred moment together, I need you to hold 3 eternal truths close to your heart. First, Sunday is not just another day on your calendar. It is your divine appointment, a holy intersection where heaven meets your solitude and speaks words that crowds could never hear. You must be alone not because you've been abandoned, but because you've been selected for a private audience with the King of Kings. Second, every year you thought was stolen, every relationship you believed was broken beyond repair, every dream you buried under the weight of age and regret, none of it is lost. God has been storing it all up, and your restoration will be greater than your suffering. Not equal to it, greater than it. And third, this Sunday is the beginning, not the end. What God speaks to you in your quiet living room will echo through the rest of your life and ripple into generations you'll never meet. But here's what I need you to understand with every fiber of your being. You are not walking this journey alone. Right now, as you hear my voice, the God who parted the Red Sea, who raised the dead, who turned water into wine, that same God is working in your life. He hasn't forgotten your address. He hasn't moved on to younger believers. He is closer to you now than He's ever been. And this Sunday, you're going to feel His presence in ways that will leave you undone. And beyond God's presence, you have this community. Look at these comments. See these hearts beating with the same hope, the same struggles, the same sacred loneliness. You belong here. We are your family. We will pray with you, weep with you, and celebrate with you when your breakthrough comes. So let me ask you this one final question, and let it settle deep in your spirit. When Sunday morning comes, when the world is rushing to be seen, will you have the courage to stay home and be found? Now, before you go, I want to pray over you. Wherever you are, in your apartment in the Bronx, your house in Queens, your room in that facility where you sometimes feel forgotten, I want you to close your eyes, place your hand on your heart, and receive this blessing. Heavenly Father, I stand in the gap right now for every precious soul who has heard this message. Lord, you see them. You know their names. You've counted every tear, recorded every prayer, witnessed every moment they felt invisible. Father, I pray that this Sunday you would meet them in the sacred space of their solitude. Silence every voice of doubt, every whisper of regret, every lie that says they're too old, too late, too forgotten. Let them hear your voice with crystal clarity. God, open doors that have been sealed for decades. Restore relationships that seem dead. Heal bodies that doctors have given up on. Provide for needs they haven't even spoken out loud. Let this Sunday be the turning point where everything shifts, where restoration begins, where hope is reborn. Place your hand upon their shoulders right now. Let them feel the weight of your presence, the warmth of your love, the certainty of your promises. Remind them that their best chapters are still unwritten, that their greatest impact is still ahead, that you're not finished with them yet. In Jesus' mighty name, I seal this prayer. Amen. Now, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me, what are you believing God for this Sunday? What needs restoration in your life? Don't hold back. This community is here to surround you with prayer. And please, share this message with someone who needs to hear it. That grandmother in your building, that friend from church who's been feeling forgotten, that family member who thinks their time has passed. If this word has touched your spirit, if something inside you shifted while you were listening, I want you to do two things. First, subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell. We're building something sacred here, a community of chosen ones who refuse to give up, who believe God's promises, and who know their worth isn't measured by age, but by calling. Second, come back here Sunday evening and tell us what happened. Tell us what God spoke. Tell us how your life changed when you dared to be alone with Him. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for trusting me with your time, your attention, your open heart. You are loved. You are chosen. You are never, ever alone. Until Sunday, walk in peace, walk in power, walk in the unshakable truth that your story is far from over. God bless you, chosen one.